Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from localized writer's block containment, meta-literary suspense loops, and the lakeside cabin coordinates of romantic suspense novels, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of elite corporate identity theft, weaponized domestic espionage loops, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered high society wife asset running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, paranoia-slicked parameters of a lavish, ultra-exclusive penthouse playground, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of a devastating, psychological body double matrix with The Replacement, the exceptional, pulse-pounding psychological thriller short story engineered by the absolute undisputed global sovereign duo of breathtaking marital manipulation, double-blind social climbing traps, and high-velocity domestic friction, Liv Constantine. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fiercely defensive primary matrimonial asset running an unyielding truth extraction loop, a calculating manipulative shadow network of charming societal interlopers running an elite proximity tracking and lifestyle erasure routine, and an absolute defense against an encroaching psychological identity theft containment zone collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid if you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn domestic noir, where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged cocktail party gaslighting, corrupt matrimonial asset redistribution diagrams, and a deadly ring of active personal social frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised high-society ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated penthouse boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, weaponizing institutional wealthy marriage customs, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, meticulously paced short-form thriller tracking a wealthy socialite who realizes her perfectly groomed new best friend is systematically copying her style, stealing her husband, and planning her complete erasure diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Constantine completely dominates the high-precision socialite jeopardy meets suffocating identity-sabotage puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating parlor room paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by franchise vargs like Gillian Flynn, Lucy Foley, B.A. Paris, and Frida McFadden, while treating realistic high-society layouts, complex dark possessive loyalty arcs, and protective high-density psychological extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse matrimonial asset, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of blind interpersonal trust, absolute emotional liquidation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within an elite country club's localized database. Behind our protagonist's rigorous social footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden structural vulnerabilities, deeply buried elite insecurities, and sharp high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight upon entering the text's sacred opening movements, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an encroaching internal sabotage network, parsing complex behavioral shifts in her daily companion interaction loops, and shielding her vulnerable personal sovereignty node from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected, high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. After accepting a seemingly innocent newcomer into her inner circle of influence, our primary asset registers a total security breach when the stranger initializes an irregular mirror imaging sequence, systematically copying her wardrobe choices, adapting her exact vocal mannerisms, and matching her precise behavioral coordinates. Behind the newcomer's pristine, smooth civilian facade and elite behavioral mapping style lies an intricate matrix of severe social-economic warfare and a cold, calculation-heavy target containment blueprint. As the hostile adversarial investigation phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a rapid ticking clock timeline, the unauthorized discovery of missing family heritage records and altered social calendar logs reveals that her standard charitable mentorship shortcut was an explicitly engineered trap. The standard boundaries of routine upper-class courtesy and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. She is thrust directly into an active, invisible war behind closed country club doors, where a highly manipulative psychological gaslighting matrix launches aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress her survival data stream and execute her complete systemic erasure. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival
survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the large charity galas, dark mansion billiard vaults, and private fortified residential rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve her focus before her adversary's relentless, calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. The threat factor remains purposeful and resolute, determined to deploy deep lifestyle manipulation loops, continuous psychological gaslighting via husband seduction maneuvers, and persistent dominance to shatter her defense, only to realize her hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight archival excavation of personal legal marriage documents, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching apex predator behind standard structural boundaries, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Liv Constantine reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial high society ambush or managing an invasive friendship disclosure. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and psychopathic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their building survival alliance, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated obsession has tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient protagonist must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a domestic noir, high society suspense thriller, identity theft mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one unsubverted social snub triggers a fatal penthouse showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Constantine writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, expensive champagne, imported marble wax, vintage leather purses, dark adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary short story marvel into elite area is the author duo's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The Replacement, a short story, is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.